Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Obama's formally nominated Solicitor General Elena Kagan for a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court to replace retiring Justice John Paul Stevens. If confirmed, Kagan will be the first justice in nearly 40 years who has no judicial experience.
To the constitutional ideal legal minds. She's an acclaimed legal scholar with a rich understanding of constitutional law. She's a former White House aide with a lifelong commitment to public service and a firm grasp of the nexus and boundaries between our three branches of government. She's a trailblazing leader, the first woman to serve as dean of Harvard Law School, and one of the most successful and beloved deans in its history. And she is a superb Solicitor General, our nation's chief lawyer, representing the American people's interests before the Supreme Court.
During a brief ceremony at the White House Monday, Elena Kagan expressed her love for the law.
I am proud of what all of us accomplished there. And through most of my professional life, I've had the simple joy of teaching, of trying to communicate to students why I so love the law, not just because it's challenging and endlessly interesting, although it certainly is that, but because law matters, because it keeps us safe, because it protects our most fundamental rights and freedoms, and because it is the foundation of our democracy.
The Senate Judiciary Committee's confirmation hearings probably will start in late June or early July. On Monday, Senate Judiciary Chair Patrick Leahy of Vermont voiced support for the selection of Elena Kagan.
Well, I'm glad to see somebody from outside the judicial monastery. Again, in our history, it's only in recent decades that the justices were all from the federal courts. We had some of our most dynamic courts have been those where they came from different backgrounds. I worry when you're in a judicial monastery that you don't have the kind of real-world experience you might have otherwise.
Elena Kagan's nomination has divided many progressive Democrats, in part because so little is known about her judicial views. On Monday, CNN analyst Jeffrey Toobin said, quote, her own views were and are something of a mystery. Toobin's a longtime friend of Kagan and former classmate at Harvard Law School. On Monday, the Associated Press revealed that in 1997, Kagan urged then-President Clinton to support a ban on late-term abortions. At the time, Kagan was a White House advisor. Meanwhile, Kagan's record as dean of Harvard Law School is coming under scrutiny. A group of law professors have openly questioned Kagan's diversity record at Harvard. During her time as dean, Kagan made 32 tenured and tenure-track academic hires. Of these 32, only one was a minority, and only 7 were women. Patches of oil washed ashore in Fort Eads, Louisiana on Monday as the oil spill from the BP rig continues to spread in the Gulf. Large brownish, reddish globs of oil were seen on the sand and in reeds on the marshland. Marine biologist Rick Steiner collected several samples of the oil globules found on a beach.
The big story here is that finally oil from the Deepwater Horizon blowout 40 miles offshore has reached the southern tip of the Mississippi Delta. It's here on land. It's coming up in small globules so far, and the response workers are doing what they can on it, but it's here, it's going to continue, and I think it's the sad state of what we're in store for down here for the next several months.
The oil spill will be center stage on Capitol Hill today as oil industry officials face questioning from the Senate's Energy and Environment committees. On Monday, BP restarted operations to stream dispersants directly into the main Gulf of Mexico oil leak, despite fears the chemicals could themselves be harmful to the environment. The chemical makeup of the dispersants is kept secret, and the Environmental Protection Agency has acknowledged the effects of the chemicals are still widely unknown. Environmentalists, shrimpers, and fishers worry that the dispersant will kill fish and other organisms in the seafood chain. Meanwhile, new tests conducted by the Louisiana Environmental Action Network reveal oil, the levels of airborne chemicals in the region are exceeding state limits. Hydrogen sulfide has been detected at concentrations more than 100 times greater than the level known to cause physical reactions in people. In another development related to the oil spill, the Sunday Times of London reports the owner of the oil rig that exploded, Transocean, has made a $270 million profit from insurance payouts for the disaster. In Iraq, at least 119 people died in a series of bomb blasts on Monday, making it Iraq's deadliest day so far this year. Bombs hit at least 10 cities and towns, including Baghdad, Hilla, and Basra. Iraqi officials said al-Qaeda in Iraq carried out the deadly attacks in response to the killings and arrests of some of the group's senior figures. The International Committee of the Red Cross has confirmed to the BBC that the U.S. is running a secret prison at the U.S. air base at Bagram in Afghanistan. 9 former prisoners have told the BBC that they were held in the secret site. Many former prisoners refer to the secret jail as the Black Jail. Prisoners reported being subjected to sleep deprivation, freezing temperatures, and other abuses. The U.S. has denied the existence of the secret prison. Afghan President Hamid Karzai has arrived in Washington for talks with President Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Karzai is traveling with 12 cabinet ministers and several other high-ranking officials. The trip comes just weeks after Karzai threatened to join the Taliban if foreign interference in his government continues. One item up for discussion is Karzai's plan to hold a peace jirga later this month to reach out to low and mid-level members of the Taliban to join his government. On Monday, U.S. Ambassador to Afghanistan General Carl Eikenberry said he believed Karzai's visit would strengthen U.S.-Afghan relations.
President Obama has expressed his confidence in President Karzai and our work together. As you know, every relationship, every bilateral relationship, especially ones as close as we have with Afghanistan, they experience ups and downs. But what measures true partnership is the ability, when the stakes are as high as they are for Afghanistan and the United States of America, to be able to work our way through difficulties and come back together and still find ourselves well aligned.
In news from Pakistan, at least 14 people have died in a U.S. drone attack in the North Waziristan region. It was the third drone strike since U.S. officials accused the Pakistani Taliban of being behind the failed bombing in New York's Times Square on May 1st. In Russia, at least 47 people have died after an explosion Saturday at a coal mine in Siberia. Another 43 miners are still stuck inside the mine. The head Palestinian negotiator says that any new Israeli settlement building in the occupied territories would be considered a serious provocation that would threaten newly begun peace talks. Palestinian negotiator Saeb Erekat said that Israel's policies threaten to doom U.S. efforts to reach a peace agreement.
Israel has the choice today: peace or settlements. These are two parallels that will not meet. They have to make the choice. If the Israelis decide to continue building settlements, dictation, incursions, assassinations, checkpoints, roadblocks, this will undermine the whole essence of what the Americans are trying to do in these proximity talks, which is to make peace.
On Monday, the Israeli group Shalom Achshav, Peace Now, revealed that Israel plans to turn a disused police station in East Jerusalem into apartments for Jewish settlers. Hagit Ofran is a spokesperson for Peace Now.
Unfortunately, the settlers are trying again to torpedo the peace talks and to prevent the solution in Jerusalem by putting up a new settlement in a Palestinian neighborhood in East Jerusalem, in Ras El Amud.
The Iranian government has issued visas for the mothers of the 3 U.S. hikers who've been held for more than 9 months. The mothers are expected to travel soon to Iran to visit their children for the first time since their arrest. Shane Bauer, Sarah Shord, and Josh Fatal were detained last July after straying across Iran's border during a hiking trip in northern Iraq's Kurdistan region. In other news from Iran, a correspondent for Newsweek has been sentenced in absentia to more than 13 years in prison. Mazyar Bahari was arrested last year and held for 4 months. Bahari's sentencing came a day after 5 Iranian Kurdish activists were hanged in a Tehran prison. The Egyptian government's announced plans to extend the state of emergency by 2 more years, despite protests from opposition groups and human rights organizations. The emergency law has been in effect since 1981. It's given police and security officials broad authority to break up public demonstrations, detain people without charge or evidence, and conduct searches without judicial approval.